I saw Secretary Rumsfeld and Deputy Secretary Wolfowitz. I went downstairs just to say hello to some of the people on the Joint Staff who used to work for me, and one of the generals called me in. He said, "Sir, you gotta come in. You gotta come in and talk to me a second." I said, "Well, you're too busy." He said, "No." He says, "We've made the decision. We're going to war with Iraq." This was on or about the 20th of September. I said, "We're going to war with Iraq. Why?" He said, "I don't know." He said, "I guess they don't know what else to do." So I said, "Well, did they find some information connecting Saddam to Al-Qaeda?" He said, No. He says, "There's nothing new that way. They just made the decision to go to war with Iraq." He said, "I guess it's like we don't know what to do about terrorists, but we got a good military and we can take down governments." And he said, "I guess if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem has to look like a nail." So I came back to see him a few weeks later, and by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, "Are we still going to war with Iraq?" And he said, "Oh, it's worse than that." He said, he reached over on his desk, he picked up a piece of paper. He said, I just got this down from upstairs, meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today. And he said, "This is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran."
Well, we just learned that the United States House of Foreign Affairs Committee is also not dead. They just drafted legislation that authorizes President Biden to go to war against Iran. So here we go, guys. This is a neocon's wet dream, of course. They've been wanting this for years. This is exactly what Republicans in Washington have wanted for many, many years. And by proxy, every Democrat wants it too. I mean, there are no anti-war people left in Congress at all. There's no daylight between these two corrupt political parties. Make no mistake about it. Republicans, Democrats, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Maybe the only one who was actively challenging money to Ukraine was Matt Gaetz. Heck, Jim Jordan was somebody, challenging money to Ukraine. But, they all fall in line eventually, it seems. Maybe Rand Paul. But for the most part. But anyway, this is a neocon's wet dream.
Not even Bernie Sanders.
Not even Bernie Sanders, yeah.
The thing we thought we would get from Bernie Sanders because he spoke out about the military-industrial.
The squad? Yeah, the squad. What happened to them?
I thought for sure he would be the one saying, at least let's do some bean counting.
No.
He wants no bean counting.
$33 trillion in debt. So, yeah, let's go to war. That's a good idea.
Over 15 years ago, I believe, way more than that, was that Israel can have their Air Force airborne within 90 seconds of a threat. They said this to 60 Minutes, and I can't find proof of it, but I remember it. It's up here, so help me find it, that within any threat, they can be airborne in 90 seconds. So why did the attack on October 7th take hours? Why wasn't anybody able to be in the air in 90 seconds?
Right.
Well, and I watched a lady that did an interview that said that even if a cat can literally trigger the alarms over the border. A cat.
Right.
So if they're getting triggered by cats, and we're to believe all these people just flew in on paragliders and
right. Well, and I think
military in the world.
And the fact that Palestinian journalists were embedded and there was no communication, there was nothing picked up at all. I mean, come on, we're not stupid, right? We're not stupid. We know. And so you can see this all unfolding here. Of course, they don't want to stop this. They didn't want to stop. Why would they want to stop this? They needed a Pearl Harbor moment. The United States needs a Pearl Harbor moment. They need this. We need these events in order to destabilize and control the Middle East.
He wants no bean counting.
$33 trillion in debt. So, yeah, let's go to war. That's a good idea. House Foreign Affairs Committee Chairman Mike McCall just told CNN that his committee is drafting legislation in the event that it's necessary to authorize U.S. military force if the current conflict between Israel and the 17 factions of Palestinians, you can call it Hamas if you want to. That's how the mainstream media frames it, of course. But that's if it spills over any further, then the U.S. would use military force if the current conflict between Israel and Palestinians basically broadens into a wider war with Iran. That's the message of this legislation from the U.S. Foreign Affairs Committee. And this gives Biden unlimited power to carry out attacks inside of Iran, using American men and women as sacrificial lambs for their neo-colonial aims. That's exactly what they're doing.